Right, good afternoon. How you doing? My name is Dave Simmons, and as I say, I'm the channel manager for Enterpryze. This afternoon, we're going to go through what the new features are, what we've just released into the browser, as well as some of the mobile apps. I think you'll find them, some of them are pretty cool. So what we're going to cover today will be Customer One. We'll show you what we can do there with the ability to create orders and print statements from the customer's point of view. We'll have a look at the new Mobile One screen, homepage and screen, and how easy it is to actually navigate around the system on that. Expenses, we'll show you how you can actually chop and change the VAT. It's been a request from some customers saying that the bottom line price they wanted to keep the same, but there might be a slight variation in VAT. So you can actually do that now in the expenses. Stock. Also now, just regarding price lists, what we can do, we can actually do it now by user as opposed to by, I suppose, the global environment. We're also then looking at the banking and the ability to cancel ingoing and outgoing payments. We've also got things like the finance, which I'll go through for the GL accounts, allowing business partners to select journal line entries, recurring transactions. Then from a sales point of view, we have a quarterly transaction, which we can show you how to do. And also the ability then, which has just been introduced, is the batch number handling. So that's what we're going to cover off today. So without further ado, what we'll do is we'll kick it off. I hope you all can hear me and you can see my screen. So first of all, what we're going to look at here will be the expenses. I'm going to show it to you first of all here on the screen and also on the mobile phone. So there's a couple of changes. If you have a look at my view of my mobile phone here and we have a look at expenses, you'll see obviously the layout has changed slightly. So we now have the ability to analyze, so we can see, let me just click that out of the way there for you. So we can actually see now that what expenses I've had for the month of September, October going forward. We also then can see if we have any outstanding expenses that I haven't been processed. You can see then the history, so what has been approved for me in the past and what has been rejected. We can see all those there and we can scroll down through them. We also then can see any of the expenses that I haven't submitted yet. They're saved as a draft and we can actually alter them, or we can attach the receipt, etc. to them. So that's the new look and feel to that, which I think you'll find is a lot more intuitive as well. But also then from the expense point of view, we have now the purchase invoice draft. So if we have a look at that, we now have the ability to edit. So for example, if we go into one of our purchase invoice here, we can actually have a look and you can see the tax amount. We can come along. It will not affect the actual bottom line, which obviously is the amount. So we can actually come along and have a look at that for you. So just bear with me. I'll just go back to that. And we'll actually show you then the changing of the VAT. So if we go into the draft, we can come along. We look to edit it, and there we have the figures, and we have the ability now, as you can see, to edit, and we can change the VAT amount. So if we change that, for example, to 30, it will alter the net amount, but obviously the total will still stay the same because that's the figure that you've actually submitted originally. So that's a new feature that has just been changed. I suppose then moving on from that, we also then have the sales side of things, where we've added in the ability to have quarterly recurring. So for example, if we have an order, we can create a new sales order or a quote. But we can also then, for example, if we actually have an order that's previously done, let's probably do that because it might be a little bit quicker. We can come in, we can actually view it. And this is where we have the actions. So we have now the ability to have recurring. And as you can see there, we can have the monthly and we can also have quarterly. So if you scroll down there, roll the screen down, so we can have a starting month, we can have the recurring date, and then when it ends. So that could be, for example, in November 2019, we just scroll along and select the dates that are required. So that's a nice new feature that actually is good. So obviously we've had it for the weekly, now we've had it for monthly, now we've added it in the quarterly as a request as well. So that works very well. You also then have another thing with regard to the finance things. When we actually have our partners and we have all our business companies, obviously they're all set up in B1. We can have a look at them. We now also have the option to bring in the bank details as well from SAP. So we can actually, they are now visible here within our Enterprise system as well. And you can chop and change and select the ones that you actually want as well. So that's a new feature that has been added in as well. You can obviously you can add them, you can delete them, but that's the way it actually is clicking in. You also have the ability from the finance side of things to actually have the incoming and outgoing payments, and you have the ability now to cancel them. So if we go into our incoming payments, we can see the ones that are open here, for example. We can come in, we can click on them, we can drill down into them, we can have a look, but we have this option now to cancel the document as well if we require. So we can cancel the document. Let's say we do want to continue, and we have 2 dates. So it's either the system date or the original document date. So that could be either today's date, which obviously would be the system date, or the original document date. So that's important from, I suppose, the accountability point of view as well, which you need to bear that in mind as well. So you can cancel the document, and that will cancel it out, and then we can come along and we can actually to view it then within our finance as well. So the document has been cancelled, and we can come back, we can view it again into our finances, into our sales, incoming payments, and then we have the option obviously to filter, so we can view and any of the orders that have been cancelled. We can click on that and they will come up through there. So there's the one we've just cancelled. Okay, so that's one of the good new features that is in that. Also, we have now the ability in the stock side of things. We can actually now have more enhancement with regard to the actual viewing of what the actual end user, the price lists, etc. So if we go into modular settings, we also now, let's take for example stock. We now have the user level. So originally we had the global level. We now have a user level. So we can select by any of our employees, and anybody who's got their email addresses, we can select by that. For example, let's take Barry there, and then you can come along and you can select which of the price lists you actually want, and that will attach to that stock account as well. So it was originally global. Now we're looking at the user level. So that's another quite a good thing as well. So that sort of covers off what's new in the stock and from the settings point of view. We also now have within the mobile one, we now have a new screen, so you can actually come in and you can navigate your way around the place very, very easily. So for example, we've got here, you can fill in your information for your company details. So if you want to add users, for example, we just click on that. It will automatically bring us to the user setup in the page, and we can add the users as per normal. We also then obviously have the ability to have the setting up the emails, setting your customers, setting products, so they're all there as well. You can as well then have download your apps for the iStore or for App Store or for the Google Play. It's there as well. We also then have the link into YouTube, so you can see all the videos that we have on the Enterprise product, which is pretty handy for sort of overviews and training. And now I suppose this is the next another thing which is coming along is all the analyzing buttons as well. So we can actually see how our leads are going on by stage. We can see the value of our quotes. We can see the amount of quotes, etc. as well. So we're viewing it in probably in one screen, as opposed to having to go through the traditional way of looking at the other systems and going through the other screens as well. So that becomes all pretty cool as well. You can obviously be able to set up expenses, and all you're doing is clicking into it, and it will automatically bring you into the screen that is required. And that goes across the board for all the bits and pieces as well. But also then you have, because we're covering off the ability to analyze the chart, so you can see your sales, your expenses, your delivery, your service and purchases, etc. So that's all there within the actual screens. And you can see then, for example, the finance. You also now have the ability to update your journals as well, which you didn't previously have the ability to do. So we can come in and, for example, we're creating a new journal entry. Down here we have the ability to have the account, or we can search under the business partner as well. So that's a new way of doing things as well, and we can add that in as we go along. So that's quite good. It also then gives a lot more flexibility, I suppose, for the guys in finance to make sure that the journals are correct, and they can toggle them between the account and the business partner as well. So they have the ability then obviously to click and review and everything that goes along with that. So that becomes pretty good indeed. We also then have, I suppose, another thing then, which is the Customer One product, which is really moving along. So originally we would have had the ability for the service, so a person could log on, your customer would log on, and they could log a service call with you, and that would obviously be brought back into Enterpryze, and a service call would be associated to that, and you could fill out the details. Now we've brought it a little stage further, where, for example, you could in the past add obviously contacts and add addresses as well. But we now also have the ability to have statements as well. So the customer can come in, they can view their statements, they can have a look at them, they can obviously download them in a PDF, but they can also then put them in a date range as well, and all the details will come up, and they can export it and download it into a PDF file through the filters of their choice. And also now moving along, we've brought the same idea now into the sales orders. So we now have the ability to not only just to view the sales orders and the quotes, the deliveries, invoices, which we could in the past, we now have the ability to actually create a new sales order. So again, similar screens to what you'd be familiar with, your business partner, your contact details, etc. And again, we're adding an item, and it's coming from the list, the price lists, and the stock items that you're obviously letting the customer pick from. So that becomes very, very good. And also I think it's opening up a whole new market as well with regard to getting the enterprise customers and the business one customers to come on and do a little bit of work themselves and pass out some of the telephone calls that come in and that type of stuff. So if we can get the customer to do a little bit more work, we can then free up our service agents or salespeople to do actually a little bit more proactive work as well, which is always very good indeed. So you have the ability, as I say, to save that and create it, and as you move along. You also then have, I suppose the next stage of that is when we're actually creating and we're looking at new sales orders, we are bringing it along a stage now where we can now actually add the groups, and we're also putting in, so let's, for example, just add an item here. What do we got in here? I hope there's some, let's take a batch item, for example, and we can add an item. And at the moment, simple as that, the prices don't come in because it's a blank database, but that's the way it's done. They can actually save that and then process the order through the system. So that becomes pretty good as well. And again, they obviously have the ability, if they require, when they're looking at the orders or their account details, they have the ability to print them, to view them, etc. Okay. So that moves on then when you're actually having a look from a sales point of view. We also then have the guys who are actually out on the road as well. So they'll be looking at, let's move on from the expenses. They might, for example, be looking at the customers through the Sell app. So we've actually now incorporated activities into this as well, which is pretty good. So not only when you're actually coming along, you can look at your customer overview, you can look at your quotes and your orders. You can also have a look at activities. So if we have a look at the customer overview, what we can do here, we'll just deselect some of these multiple databases I have here for you, and we just take the one. We now have a new look and feel to this. So we've got the invoice, which is new, and then we have the quote and the order. And again, we can drill down into any one of those, for example, the quote, and we can view it. Again, you can see that they're all here. We can click them on, we can click them off. So we actually only want to look at the orders, for example, or just quotes. And again, we can drill down into those and see exactly what's going on with them, what needs to be done. We obviously have the ability to edit the quote, and of course, we can convert it to an order as per normal. So that gives us a lot more functionality within there. But as I say, I suppose the key thing here is the ability to have activities. So we can actually have all the activities related to the different customers. And as you can see, the ones there that are highlighted, as in the color, they're the ones that are open. And then the activities that have been closed, for example, the Mike's business there has been closed. As you can see, the status is closed on that. Alternatively, if you go into one that's open, we can come along, we can edit it, we can come along, put in the details of what was done, and we can actually mark it then as a closed activity. And we can close that down as well. So that becomes very good from a point of view of actually managing the, I suppose, the sales process, looking after the quotes, etc., and the orders to make sure that we're getting through the system. So that becomes pretty good. You also then, I suppose, the other option then is the van sales app, where we can now introduce, and we've introduced invoices as well, so they can actually, you can view them. You also then, when you're drilling down and having a look, for example, at any of the invoices here, we can drill in and have a look. We now have the option, as you can see down the bottom there, that one has actually been paid. So if we go into another one, that also has been paid. So if we take another customer and we go into an invoice, for example, I don't know, let's take Field Jewelers there, for example. You can see down the bottom here, we have the option to pay that as well. So that actually marries off the invoice with the payment that has been received, depending on how they actually pay, whether it's by credit card, by cash, or on account, whatever the way they actually do it. We can actually mark it down now as paid, which is also very, very good. You also then have, the good thing was when you're out and about with the van sales app, you have the ability obviously to scan a product when you're actually adding it in. So we can actually come along, and when we're creating an invoice, we're selecting all the details, etc. We can also then, when we actually put in all the details and we're creating a new order, for example, and we're adding the items, we have the option up here to do a bar scan, and that will then, we just scan it with the phone, pulls in the barcode number and picks the actual stock from the list, and then you can add the quantity, how many you actually need on it. So a nice quick way of doing things if you're dealing in scanning as well. So it becomes very quick and very efficient again. So, and I suppose the great thing there is that it's easy for the sales guys, field guys to actually use. It's all on the mobile phone. The information is there at their fingertips, and they're managing everything. So traditionally what we would have had here when we were creating, we're going back into this, we were creating, for example, a new quote or an order. We now have the activities in here and the business partner as well. So we can do the whole thing. So they create everything from scratch. They create the business partner, they can create a quote, everything on the fly, and add activities to it as well. And then when they have the van sales app, they also then have the ability to have more so, I suppose, the ability to do the delivery as well as creating the order as well. So they're actually one stage further apart, and it gives them, I suppose, a person who's more sort of self-control, that might be working out of a van or a warehouse on their own. That's where the van sales app will really kick in. So it's pretty good indeed. Also, from an app's point of view, the service app has moved along as well. So if we have a look at the service app, we have now changed the screen. So all the screens are becoming quite similar as well, where we've got the ability to analyze down here at the bottom. We also then have the service calls, we have the activities, and then naturally we have a route as well, which was always part of that system. So we can come along. Now but the next stage we can do with this is when we're looking at the activities, we can view Joe IT's, the company, any of our attachments. So that could be a photograph or a signature. We have our custom fields as per normal, which would need to be filled in. Again, you can order from either the main warehouse or delivery from the van. But the activities is the new part of this, where you can obviously come along, you could edit it, and you have the ability to either close it or create a new activity. So when the activity is being done against that service call, we can close it off, submit it, or we can actually, obviously, again, we can create something new again against that as well. And we create a new activity and pop in the details, whether it's a phone call, it could have been a task, a meeting, whatever the case may be, whatever details you need to pop in. And again, you have the ability there to send email notifications, so it goes through. You also then have the viewing point now of two ways to do things with regard to the service call. So obviously when you log in the morning, you view this and you can see it. We also have the ability now to actually just show call by call by call, and they can actually have a look at those. So for example, Joe IT, once I've completed that task, up will come another call. I can also then assign and have a look at unassigned calls, so they can actually be in one big long list. So we might have 5 or 6 of them down here, or even more, or again, they might disappear one by one, and we can add them in. We can view them, and obviously we can edit them. and we can make sure that they're resolved. If we need to order products, we can do that as well, and we can have the activities against them and progress through. So that's from the unassigned service calls. So I suppose the service app is really becoming quite a powerful tool, especially for the people out and about. Normal things but apply. You'll still be able to take your picture, get your customer to sign that the work is being carried out, etc. Also then, I suppose the other thing is from the demo side of things on the system itself, and we also now have the ability to have batch numbers coming through the system. So if we, for example, are in deliveries, we can come along and we can create, for example, a new sales order. Let's take a customer, whoever it might be. All the details will get populated on that. And if we're adding a line, and the code could be batch, for example. You can pop it in, the quantity one, the price could be 15. Don't want to give them a discount. Now, this also, we can actually upload an image. So we can actually see an image of the product as well, which this is another new thing that's been added in. So whether it's a banana or an apple, we can have a little picture of it here, and that will appear then on the line item when the actual people are going to select it as well, which is pretty good. Again, we can put in cost centers, so whether it's sales or it's finance, admin, marketing, we can pop those in. You can add additional items like this, like we've also introduced that on the mobile phone, so it goes in sync, or alternatively, we just say, yep, we're okay with that, and we can add that in as we go along. And we can save that, and off we go from a delivery point of view. You also then have the ability, if we are looking at the editing the batch numbers, so this is, we can actually pop in something here for you. So if we create a new line, let's say we'll take a batch item again. Let's say I put in a price. This could be 12, for example, and we won't give it any discount. Okay, and then we can come along. We can have a look at the batch item, and we can pick it automatically, and that will update everything with regard to the enterprise and the business one for you as well. Pick it automatically. Exceeds, so if there's anything wrong there, obviously the details will come up, and then we can go in and have a look at them then at a later stage. And that just creates and updates. Again, as I said, you have the ability to have your picture and your file there against it. So that will adjust all the stock levels for you. So that, I suppose, is the batch. As I say, we've looked at the van sales app and the ability with the dashboards and the ability then to add activities and to create them and to close them off, which is all new. Other things that are sort of coming down the line as well is the ability to hide the prices. For example, when you're going out for delivery, we won't have a price in there. That's set to come in the next release. You can see the open deliveries as well. Partial deliveries will be kicking in there as well in the iOS version, followed by the Android as well. And obviously, naturally, things like the localization for different codes in different countries are ongoing as we go along. For example, they've done localization in Poland, Chile, and they're also working now on Mexico as well. So everything is falling into place, and all these new things are actually being added as we go along. And that's really it in a sort of a whistle-stop tour of what's going on with the Enterprise product. If you would like to explore anything in further detail, please get in touch and I can go through that with you. Thank you very much for your time and look forward to hearing from you.